Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer will be the 11th theatrical film in the director's ever-growing career, and with his previous work filling the void of many different genres, it seems that this time around, the filmmaker is targeting a genre that has been on his mind for a while. The biographical film is one that relates to Nolan's history in Hollywood, and while he couldn't do that originally, now he's aiming to fulfill that passion with a story on one of the most enigmatic figures from World War II. In this video, I'm going to be discussing all the reasons why I think Oppenheimer is the perfect choice for Christopher Nolan's next film, tackling his filmmaking style, his passion towards it, and the potential of the overall story. But before I get into it, if you want to see more updates and videos on the work of directors like Christopher Nolan, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into why Oppenheimer can be the perfect Christopher Nolan movie. So Christopher Nolan is one of the most successful modern directors in Hollywood and has produced a train of huge blockbuster films and series with, say, the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, and The Prestige. That's just to name about a half of the great work he's put to screen, and add into the mix that his films have been nominated for over 35 Oscars and that he's grossed over $5 billion at the worldwide box office, and it's understandable why every project he makes comes into mainstream viewers' prime attention. The blockbuster auteur is front and center when it comes to modern science fiction work, action films, thrillers, and numerous other genres. And the anticipation for his next project is always sky high. But this time, the director is producing a biopic on J. Robert Oppenheimer set during World War II and his development of the atomic bomb, and with the announcement of that, film fans of all ages have become excited, especially with Nolan fans like myself, who know that the filmmaker has been passionate in making a biopic for many years. Currently, Oppenheimer has a release date of July the 21st, 2023, and it will be released exclusively in theaters in standard formats, IMAX 35mm and 70mm projection. Coming to why Oppenheimer is Nolan's passion project, the filmmaker has previously attempted making one, and that came with his early career script for a Howard Hughes movie. He famously stated that this was the best screenplay he has ever written, but in the time during the development of that script, Martin Scorsese also made a similar movie in The Aviator. Nolan gave a gesture of respect in abandoning the project, and it's now that 2 decades later, he finally is coming back to the biographical drama genre to make a movie about Oppenheimer. As a biopic, the film will offer a greatly different route from Nolan's previous movies, and with him moving into a different one, it will once again be a fascinating move to see unfold. Every film he makes, he tends to bring the flair of a different genre, but as I said, this one will be special due to the passion he's always had towards it. Of course, we expect the conventions of a Nolan picture to be there, whether it be through science, thrills, action, or drama, and the filmmaker will always bring a sense of the unexplored too. Seeing his take on the existential power of the atomic bomb and its creation, whether that's involving his core reoccurring themes using time, will offer a unique position with the story of Oppenheimer. I think with an infuse of his style, he could totally update and bring a fresh sensibility to what a biographical drama is, and maybe one that attracts more younger viewers in the process too. Not to mention that the cast is absolutely stacked, and that this will attract more people to the project right from the start. Just in the main line of many people cast, the list includes Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Josh Peck, Jason Clarke, and Matt Damon. Alongside the many others included, Nolan has selected an incredibly talented group, with some of the individuals even working with him in the past. There is no doubt that these actors will be able to accurately portray the people that took part in Oppenheimer's story and the Manhattan Project. But yes, he's bringing all the goods with Oppenheimer, and it just shows that on a surface level, how big he could be going with it, and how most actors in Hollywood want to work on the film too. I have already done a full video on the cast, so I would recommend checking that out in the description if you want to know more about everyone involved. But moving on to the next point, I think it's key that I discuss the potential in the story of Oppenheimer, which just in its summary creates all the intrigue that a Christopher Nolan movie should have. Oppenheimer's source material is the Pulitzer Prize winning book American Prometheus, The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer, and Nolan has adapted it into a screenplay. Of course, J. Robert Oppenheimer was an American theoretical physicist and the head of the Los Alamos Laboratory during World War II, and he took part in the Manhattan Project, known for the development of the atomic bomb. The laboratory grew, and Oppenheimer was given the huge role of keeping the workers under control, and during his co-development of nuclear power, he was one of the first to witness the Trinity test, which was the first detonation of a nuclear bomb in history. It was known that after the test, he famously quoted the words of a Hindu scripture in the Bhagavad Gita, saying, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." So we have all the intelligence, complexity, yet guilt of this man potentially being on display, and with him being brought to life by the great Cillian Murphy, I think we're definitely going to get quite the performance filled with anxiety that the actor has portrayed really well before in previous roles. In relating to that motivation, Oppenheimer is the kind of film that fits perfectly within Nolan's filmography because it deals with the central themes that a lot of his great movies have. Coming back to the idea of guilt, Oppenheimer is probably one of the main historical figures that aligns with that idea, and seeing a man go through the guilt of possibly creating the destroyer of worlds creates another great character for Nolan to bring to the screen. Most of Nolan's central protagonists deal with the idea of guilt, look none other than Inception with Cobb, and the story of Oppenheimer is fittingly appropriate once again. He can dive into how this man felt towards what he was developing, and then after, with how the bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki did help to end a destructive war. There's deep complexity in the events and also in the minds of the many characters in this particular story. Then there's also the theme of time, which could be connected in multiple ways, whether it's the race against time to create an atom bomb, or how Nolan uses timelines to tell this story. Because the story of Oppenheimer stretches across a long period of time, Nolan could quite easily jump between moments in his life, or do it in a biographical way in which someone, maybe Oppenheimer himself, narrates moments of his past. Look at the way Nolan took Dunkirk, which could have just been a straightforward telling of those events, but instead he used 3 different timelines of the sea, the air and the land, before later bringing them together to tell a very compelling version of that story. Time is present in some shape or form in every Nolan picture, and I'm sure he'll try to do something quite effective here too. What we know is that Nolan is going to use the story of Oppenheimer to once again tackle the morality of that individual, and also of the situation as a whole in its pros and cons. We'll likely see the construction of a personal identity and how that changes over the years and after the Second World War. It will be interesting to see what the main message ends up being, but as I've discussed, I think Nolan's primary themes of time, guilt and personal morality will be on full display and perfect for this telling of Oppenheimer. And finally, we come to Christopher Nolan's immersive filmmaking. Oppenheimer has used IMAX 65mm and 65mm large format film for its filming, and it was previously announced that it would be the first feature film to shoot some of its scenes in IMAX black and white analog photography. We have no idea what those scenes will currently include, but having black and white IMAX for the first time is definitely going to be a stylistic choice that will get people talking. Not to forget that with The Dark Knight, Nolan really pushed the usage of IMAX, and now we see it used on almost every big blockbuster film today. He keeps the format available to view in his home entertainment releases, and throughout his career, it has continuously looked stunning. From the bank robbery or truck flip scene in The Dark Knight, to the docking scene in Interstellar, and the plane crash in Tenet, there are countless examples in the past of Nolan using this format to its full practical potential. And speaking of the practical, whether we see any action or not, Nolan is once again going to strive for an extreme level of realism that most filmmakers working in the industry today don't quite match. Finally, the filmmaker is working with some of the best in the industry to bring Oppenheimer's story to life. He's re-teaming with cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema to bring all of the sweeping visuals and IMAX shots to screen, editor Jennifer Lame to conquer the task of putting his next puzzle together, and composer Ludwig Göransson, who will surely create another standout and inventive score for us to play on repeat. So if everything pays off, Oppenheimer has the potential to be one of Nolan's best films, and I personally can't wait to see what he does with it. I myself liked Tenet and have appreciated it so much more on rewatch, but with this being a biography, I think Nolan is going to make a much different film this time around. It will still have his creative stamp on it, but it opens up the opportunity to do something new within the boundaries of a biography. But with his creative approach present, this story is also just the perfect one to align with the choices he typically makes too. Let's see what he does with the material, and hopefully it will be well worth the wait. But that was my video discussing why I believe Oppenheimer can be the perfect film for Christopher Nolan. I think with a combination of the story, Nolan's passion, his filmmaking style posing new biographical possibilities, and yet his reoccurring central themes, this project can be one of the director's very best and showcase just how far he's developed in his career. I know that Tenet wasn't for everyone, but it's clear that whenever Nolan makes a film, he tends to mix up the genre and storytelling involved, while still keeping the identity of his filmmaking intact. So Oppenheimer is essentially going to be that biographical movie he's always wanted to make, and I personally think he can do great things with it. We'll only get that answer once the film comes out in July 2023, but based on his previous movies, the teaser trailers for them usually come out about a year before they release. So we may be seeing our first footage very soon, and we'd be able to give more of a perspective towards what he is actually going for. But just on a surface level, do you think Oppenheimer is a great choice for Nolan's filmmaking style? And what would you like to see him do in the film from a stylistic standpoint? Let me know down below in the comment section. For more updates and videos on Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.